And welcome back. As part of the New York State budget, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced the Excelsior Scholarship that provides tuition and free college to middle-class families. Now, although the words free and tuition have a nice ring to it, many people don't know the full details about the scholarship and if it'll really help middle-class students. Joining us now to talk more about this topic, we welcome now University State Senate Vice Chair for Fiscal, Jonah Kurluku,
Yeah.
and University State Senate Legislative Director Donovan Borington. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is particularly good for me because my son is going to a state college next year, so you're going to give me all the information I need to know as well as all of our viewers
Yes.
and help us out. But honestly, a good program by the governor, I guess, in terms of allowing free state tuition for students. So walk us down and give us a little bit, yes, no, maybe so.
So we thank Cuomo for starting this conversation about free higher education, which is something that we need across the country. However, it's not free for New York. It says it in the name, Excelsior Scholarship. And in his budget, he did include tuition hikes for $200, but also push for this tuition free for the state, which doesn't make sense how you have tuition hikes and tuition free in the same sentence. So it's not free. How it works is that you're going to have Pell Grants cover tuition and then TAP, and then this Excelsior Scholarship is going to cover the rest of the bill. And it really doesn't do much for low-income students, which need this the most because tuition is increasing, and it increased before. Our University Student Senate had a major success last year in getting tuition freeze, but tuition hikes are planned for the next 4 years for $200. And so, again, tuition is increasing, but TAP is not catching up to these hikes, and so there's a gap. And so when it does cover tuition, there is no money left over for students so that they can pay for books, they can pay for transportation, for food. A lot of our students suffer food insecurities and shelter insecurities, and so these are issues they have to deal with, and there isn't money left over, so it's not free.
Let me talk to Donovan about how does a person actually qualify for this scholarship?
Well, it's my understanding that, if you qualify for Pell and TAP, and once it covers the tuition, the Excelsior Scholarship will cover the remainder. And so currently, right now, if your family makes below $80,000, you're eligible for TAP and Pell, and Excelsior will cover the difference. At the City University of New York, CUNY, the tuition really doesn't exceed the maximum TAP and Pell award. However, at State University of New York, SUNY, some of their colleges, the tuition does exceed the annual Pell and TAP award. So Excelsior really covers a lot of the bulk of that tuition for their students. But particularly at CUNY, like my colleague mentioned, that additional funding that is needed, for book money, for transportation, for the cost of living. Whereas if you attend the State University of New York, you have dorming, you have access to housing, and there's affordable living. But within the city, we know the cost of living is very high. So students that attend CUNY, they have these out-of-pocket expenses that the financial aid just does not cover. And so what you find is that most of our students, they're working students. So unfortunately, they can't afford to attend full-time to meet the Excelsior eligibility requirement. And that's one of the major challenges that we see, that as our students are going to be able to continue to remain full-time. What we do like is that in the initial proposal, the governor had requested that you take 15 credits a semester, but then we see that the legislature and the governor came to an agreement where you can take 30 credits over a full year, which means that the Excelsior is going to cover summertime and wintertime. And this is something we've been challenging the legislature to do over the past few years. We've been calling for TAP reform. And like my colleague said, we appreciate the advancement of the conversation.
Right.
We like that higher ed is finally at the forefront, because we've been, in the back fighting for this, and now it's a national conversation. We just want to see some major changes so that we're making the right investments.
So for somebody who qualifies, there's also some additional requirements to come to that as well. So you can qualify for the scholarship, you can get a scholarship, and after you get a scholarship, that's still not it.
Yeah, you have to maintain your GPA to make sure that you're not failing any of your classes. And if you do, then you don't qualify for the program anymore, so you can't apply again.
Yeah, and I think one of the new components of the program is that for every year you receive it, you have to work within the state. That was something that came out of the budget negotiations. And while I do understand, the state's making the investment into our students, and the state wants to get that return on investment by making sure you're staying and working here within the state, We think that's probably going to be a challenge for our university to ensure that there are opportunities. Currently, you can graduate with a degree, but there's no guarantee that the company or the market is going to hire you. And if one of our students gets an opportunity across the state or within another state across the country, they have to stay within the state, or that scholarship is going to turn to a loan. So right now, one of the things that we're going to work on is working with our university to make sure that our career services is ready and working with the private sector and the public sector to secure our students some job opportunities, so that way the scholarship isn't turned into a loan, because that's what we fear.
And talking about really educating students and making students aware, you guys have done a good job of letting students know. What's the feedback that you've gotten so far?
Well, people like it because they're sold on the free tuition part, but we're
The
really
word free, right?
the word free,
Right.
yeah. So I mean, in social media, you see a lot of memes on it, and how New York is the first to do this. And it's awesome that they're starting this conversation, but it's not free, and so we have to educate people that are going to apply for this, that they understand the consequences and the benefits.
Any talk about talking to legislators, still keeping that push going, even though it's happened so far, still to get the tweaks and the reforms that you'd like to see?
Yeah, definitely. We're upstate in Albany every other week trying to talk to legislatures about the different things that we need. And so the biggest push is like TAP reform, because that additional aid for MetroCard, MTA is going up constantly. We want to work on, again, this employment piece. People are going to need jobs. So we're trying to figure out how we can create some public-private partnerships. In 2013, we worked with the City Council to create what's called the City Council Merit Scholarship. And that's awarded to any New York City high school student who graduates from New York City High School and comes to CUNY. They're awarded $800 a year, $400 a semester, as long as they maintain a B average. And we've been able to get about $19 million a year in restoration funding from the City Council. And that's been great to partner with the City Council and the Committee on Higher Education, Councilmember Daren. That was really something like we worked for, where it didn't kind of tie our students with that working component, but it can cover transportation, food. And so this is the type of funding that we want to continue to provide our students, other avenues, because our students are parents. They're taking care of their parents or their kids. They're working students. So we have to change the model of what a traditional student is, because CUNY serves all type of students, students with disabilities, students from different backgrounds. And so we understand what our community consists of.
Jonah Donovan, that's about the time we have for this particular segment, but of course we'll continue to follow this. Got to bring you back as we get closer to the school year and really hear more about what's going on. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. All right. Look, taking a quick break here on Open. We'll return. We'll have more show coming up right after this.